All right, Laura and Danielle, welcome to Zen One Podcast. I'm really
Thank you
excited
so much
to
for
to
having
chat with
us.
you today. Yeah,
Yes,
this
we're
is going to be
excited.
awesome. As we were prepping for this thing, Laura said that 15 years ago, two of you met at the hygiene school. You
Yeah,
guys
Hmm.
still practice, probably not together, but then you decided 12 months ago to start a business, which is a Diamond Dental Hygiene Coaching, and in March of 2022. And I'm super curious to talk about how was the hygiene career and now how is the business going? So maybe we can start there.
yeah, absolutely. So,
Absolutely.
like Laura said, we started, our hygiene careers back in 2008. It's been about 15 years. We've been practicing clinical. And, through COVID, obviously a lot of changes for a lot of people. But being home and having that time, looking out for a little bit more freedom and flexibility in our schedules. And then also kind of coaching each other through, those tough times through COVID, what that looks like going back to work, our kids being home. How can we, create that space for us to have a little bit more flexibility, talking to other hygienists, trying to branch out from that clinical space. We were, having other hygienists come to us and be like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What else is there to do outside of clinical hygiene? That was kind of really where it started for us. Like, we were able to navigate those waters together. And so really wanting to help other hygienists beat, that burnout, looking for growth within their career. What does that look like? And how did we do that? Helping them implement the tips, tools, and tricks that we used to get outside of that clinical space.
What was the what was it like during COVID? Can we go back there for a second?
Yeah.
Like you said, coaching and helping each other. Like what was that like being on
Yeah.
a
I
call,
think
supporting each other?
absolutely. I think that, being able to have that downtime, that 3 months ish that we were, out of the clinical space, realizing how truly burnt out we felt in that day-to-day hamster wheel, that grind, that bubble that we were in, we were able to kind of like almost burst that bubble and grow outside of that bubble a little bit, given that 3 months time downtime. Um, so having those conversations kind of back and forth with each other, and Laura, go ahead and kind of jump in there, but wanting more and looking for more outside of that the up.
And I think for to reiterate on what Danielle is talking about and really to go back to like what our personal why is, why we became a hygienist and what we wanted both personally and professionally. I know for myself, I've always been one that's really wanted growth, both personally and professionally. And Danielle was really struggling and dealing with burnout. And so we kind of collaboratively came together on what could we do to to overcome those obstacles. And during that time of COVID, we were able to grow personally and really invest on ourselves on remembering what our why is and what we want to accomplish. Why did we become hygienists? And
Hmm.
ultimately, we want to provide that optimal care to our patients, and we want to learn and grow. So we challenged each other. We took courses, and we became certified in certain things, and we grew. When we went back clinically, we grew professionally, and we're both GBT certified now. We're laser certified. We're able to provide that optimal care, and in addition to growing within those four walls of the operatory, we were able to implement this coaching program that is really tried and true, our method of what we did, and we've been able to help clients, overcome their obstacles because everybody faces fear and imposter syndrome and the struggles of having difficult conversations. That's just human nature, right? So we really have created that foundation and have helped our clients grow, whether that be them learning a new innovation or technology, or learning how to write an article and get published, or leave clinical altogether and do something within dentistry, but outside of the operatory.
Hmm. When you said laser certified and there was something else, GPT?
Yeah, guided biofilm therapy.
Guided
Biofilm
film.
therapy. Mm-hmm.
Okay, GBT.
Yep.
GBT.
Okay. Okay. Sounds like Chat GPT, but it's
Yeah.
GBT.
That's what a
Okay.
lot of people
Yeah,
say.
I know. So
Okay.
many people say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danielle, do you mind if I ask you about the burnout, like the
Yeah.
details, like when Laura mentioned, like what was it like? I don't know how deep you can go, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I feel like once I kind of it kind of came to a head a little bit, like I said, over COVID. Um, you're in that hamster wheel, you're living in that bubble. So you never really truly understand what you're really going through until you're not in that situation. And then it's that anxiety to go back to that situation. Um, knowing that I wanted more in my career, but being put back into that clinical space where I was at, knowing that there was no growth. So continuing on that hamster wheel of not providing optimal care, poor communication, toxic work environment, finding the tools, and again through the guidance of Laura helping me and helping Laura, um, I was able to overcome that and have those tough conversations with the doctor or with staff members that I was working with, and knowing that maybe this isn't my forever, thinking sometimes that a place is your forever, and then really truly finding out that it's not. um, Definitely allowed for a lot of personal and professional growth, but it definitely takes a toll on your mindset, and feeling that anxiety every Sunday, or you have the Sunday scaries where you're dreading waking up, you're dreading that drive into work, you're going into the
Mm-hmm.
workplace and you know that it's toxic. But being able to have those right fundamental tools, and being able to have those conversations, those really tough conversations that nobody likes to have, being vulnerable in that space really helped me overcome that burnout. Setting boundaries was really important.
So the burnout was driven by toxic environment
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
or is there anything else?
Yeah, I would say that the lack of growth, working in an environment where the hygienist was solely, it was a prophy mill. You'd have the patient coming in, you're doing a simple assessments, nothing, outside of, what insurance would cover. And then you're cleaning the teeth, and we're not teeth clean. We're not tooth cleaners or teeth cleaners. We're, biofilm blasters. We're healthcare professionals. We're healthcare professionals.
Biofilm blasters? I've never heard that.
Yes. Yeah.
That's,
Um,
I love it.
yeah.
I'll
So
call the podcast so we're not a
yeah.
biofilm blasters. This is
Yes,
cool.
I love that. So being able to, grow outside of that, has been amazing for my mindset. It has reignited my passion for clinical hygiene. I've
Mm-hmm.
elevated my standards of care. But when you're stuck in that rut, that routine, and you're not providing optimal care, it's super repetitive, and it's not bringing
Mm-hmm.
you personal satisfaction. It's not filling your cups in any way.
So what do you do at that point? Like if there's no growth, there's lack of growth,
Hmm.
and it's a toxic environment. Maybe both of you, Laura and Danielle, can touch on an example of a toxic environment, and then what do you do? Like you just apply to a new job, and I assume finding a job as a hygienist is not a problem at all. Like any
Yeah.
office
Not
I
right
talk to,
now.
it's
Right
like they're
now, it's not
looking
a
for a
problem at
hygienist.
all. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, kind of go
But can
back
I
on that.
can I
Yeah,
interrupt for a second?
yeah.
I'm really sorry. It's
No,
not hard to find a job, but it's really hard to find a job. Do
it's
you
really
know
hard to find
where,
a
Correct.
good job.
right? So like it's really hard to find the right fit. And I
Hmm.
think
Yes,
only after you get burned out, you can try to find the right fit.
Yes,
absolutely.
I
And I
100%
think it's
agree.
important to make sure that wherever you work, you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. You want to make sure that your core values align, that they do have teamwork, that there is, if you're looking for growth, that there's opportunity for growth there. You need to have those difficult conversations first and make sure that you're on the same page.
When
Yeah,
when you apply, you mean, right? But can
yeah.
we go back to the office if you
Hmm.
like how do you know if it's a toxic environment or what do you do to get out of
Yeah,
on
that's a great, great
Yeah.
question. So for me, it all really started when I hired my own coach. And I think that kind of manifested where we're at. Hiring, and it wasn't necessarily like a hygiene coach. It was just like almost like a life coach for myself, because I was feeling so many different ways. and being able to having them help me change my mindset, really getting down to the basics, changing my mindset around myself and my standards and what I should be accepting of and not accepting of, really truly helped me on my journey. So when I was feeling burnout, like just basically saying like, hell no, like this isn't unacceptable. Like it's unacceptable for other people to be treating you this way. You need to start setting some boundaries around that. Having, again, those difficult conversations with the dentist, with other team members within your office. And once
Can you
you,
give an example?
yeah.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're coming into your work day and you're like, high energy, you're really excited, you're good morning, everybody. And then you're having those team members that are like, yep, look at my schedule, jam packed again today. Like it just totally just sucks all the life and energy out of you, and the morale around the communication and the support. We should be working together as a team and not be, downing and one-upping the other hygienist all day throughout the day. We want to obviously have open communication. And if something's bothering somebody in the office, not going behind that person's back and having that conversation with the person that, you're having that riff with, or if somebody's not stocking the room, again, not going behind that hygienist's back and having a conversation with the other hygienist. You're just creating animosity and you're creating that toxicity within the office that nobody's going to get along.
I was just going to say that. I think a perfect example, especially where we were talking about this earlier, a majority of the team members are women, right? Women can tend to be a little catty. And I think it's important that if there is something going on, say something, just be direct and say, hey, listen, this is bothering me, or I need help. It's okay to ask for help. I think sometimes people just like to complain. And if there's that negative energy, it can be toxic. So putting an end to negative talk, right? Like, okay, well, let's be productive. So negative talk, if you don't like the way I'm doing something, or if there's something that I can improve on, let's find a solution for it. Don't just up in the back corner about how things are miserable. Let's actually figure out what a solution can be to stop this from happening. Whether it be like an example, I feel like a lot of times in offices, sterilization is a huge issue, right? So teamwork makes the dream work, right? So if you're running late and you're already, 5-10 minutes behind your patient, you don't have time to do something, say something. Say, hey, hey, Danielle, I'm running late right now. Do you mind helping me out? It's okay to ask for help, but own it, and make sure that you don't abuse that behavior. When you have downtime, offer help. If your last patient of the day cancels and you're like, yes, I get to leave early, make sure you go around and ask everybody if they need anything before you take off so other people don't get upset. It's just a matter of being considerate and being mindful. I think being mindful at whole is what can help.
I've seen a few times when a person can ask for help, but their way of asking for help is bitching, pardon my language.
Yeah.
Like, well, every day is a crazy day. I didn't even have a chance to eat. Nobody's helping me out. Like, that's how they ask for help.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. That's poor communication.
Yeah, it can be taken completely wrong way.
I also think, is it a dentist's fault or the office manager's fault?
Is what? I think.
Like when that happens.
I think leadership is really important, and you need strong leaders in all avenues. Whether that be, leaders are hygienists, our assistants, our doctors, our office managers. You need leaders in all avenues of your work. So if you can lead by example, I think that helps. I don't think you should put blame on one specific person.
I think, Danielle, you wanted to add something?
I was going to say instilling that work ethic within your team as well. If you have a good leader, whether that be a team lead hygienist or the office manager or the doctor, when you're onboarding that team member, making sure that they're aware of, this is how we run things around here. And, we all are helping each other. And that's what's going to make this day go, smoothly. And that's what we all want. Ultimately, that's what we want. We all want this day to go as smooth as we possibly can. And being a team member is how we do that. So just
Mm-hmm.
instilling that
Mm-hmm.
from the get-go is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
sorry, I was just going
no,
to say
no, yeah.
when there's healthy leadership, when the team works together, you're providing better patient care, which is the ultimate goal, right? And you're allowing the employees to have a smooth run day that will create personal and professional satisfaction.
Yeah. I feel like this is such a big topic, and unfortunately or fortunately, we're all humans,
Mm-hmm.
and we all go to work at a practice thinking that this is going to be a hunky-dory flowers thing. Um, but even some of the well-run offices have issues, right?
Of
Even
course.
some of the best offices that we can talk about and admire and say, this doctor or that team, everybody got issues. And I feel that um, I also think the word leadership is a little overplayed. I also
Mm-hmm.
think that when you go to a dental assistant who just got hired, and maybe she's a sterilization tech, we all of a sudden say like everybody needs to be a leader, and she doesn't know what it means to be a leader, right? So, but when in reality, we just need to make sure like we've got the leaders of the practice, but we need you to be a solid team player. What does it mean to be a solid team player? That means if you're doing sterilization and you don't know how to do things, you ask. Like if you
Yes.
don't know how to do hand pieces, you're just gonna ask like, hey, how do I clean hand pieces? How do I maintain hand pieces? And then sometimes people laugh like composite gets thrown into the autoclave. And everybody's like, look at that person. She threw a composite into autoclave, right? But then in reality, like, but then why were you quiet? Right? So like why didn't you, if you saw that, why didn't you help? So I feel
Mm-hmm.
that even some of the healthy offices, what they have is they expect that shit is going to hit the fan. And then they also know that, hey, we've got like checks and balances in place, meaning we will call you out. If the doctor is moody, we'll say, doctor, is everything okay? Like, you seem a little off today. Like, is there anything we need to help you? Maybe we need to let you go home a little bit earlier today. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
teams do that, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, that puts the doctor in the right shoes to be like, oh, wait a minute, did I say something? They're like, no, nothing unusual. They know it. They know right away that they said something that's not appropriate, right? So like, I think, I yeah, I'm just sharing. I don't know why I went in this
No,
direction, but I'm just
I,
Oh,
sharing
I
my thoughts about it.
I actually I agree with you, and I think it's important for people to recognize and realize that it's okay not to know something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know something, just ask. It's okay to ask. I mean, for me, I know a lot of times like I don't know how, because I was not a dental assistant, right? But I want to be able to help as much as I can. So if I don't know how the doctor likes their instruments or what goes where, I typically ask. And in some places of work, the assistant will show me exactly what they like. And then other times the assistant says to me, oh, no, it's okay. I'll get it. And I have to respect whatever they want. But I'm always willing to learn and
Mm-hmm.
to help. And I think that that's important.
I agree
Yeah.
100%. And I think
Yep.
sometimes almost like imposter syndrome or like fear. And it's a lot of the time it's the fear of the unknown. And if you just simply ask the question, then you would learn. Therefore, you wouldn't feel overwhelmed or fearful anymore. You would just simply know and then you would do. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when we
Yeah.
know better, we do better.
mhm.
Right. But would you guys agree that right now it's the best time to be fearless?
Oh,
Yes.
100%. I agree.
And
Yeah.
I'm not just saying to say it. Like you can literally like
Mhm.
I have one office in mind right now, and I hope they don't mind. They don't do morning huddles, right? So, and I keep bugging them about it. I'm like, you should do morning huddle. Like,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yes.
but and so if you're hygienist at that office and you go to a course and you're like, everybody's doing morning huddles, and you come back and you're like, we should do morning huddles. And a really good hygienist would be like, look, I've gone to this course. I took a script of what the morning huddle should look like and what we need to discuss. Why don't we start tomorrow? And if the office is like, no, just do the, what is it called? The biofilm blaster, be the
Yeah.
biofilm blaster. And then you're like, I'm out of here, right? And then you quit, you go to the next office and they ask you, so why did you fire you, right? Or why you
Mhm.
quit? You're like, well, because I went to the course and I wanted to implement the morning huddle and the office didn't want to do the morning huddle. And they fired me for that. Like any other office would hire that person in a heartbeat. So that's why I
Mhm.
say like, this is the time to be fearless because
Absolutely.
just everybody needs you.
Yeah.
Yes, and I love that. And I will say, like around the whole biofilm blasting and all of the amazing things we do, is I learned a new innovation in technology. I brought it to my office
Mhm.
and was like, hey, I learned about this. Love for you to like look into it and learn more yourself. And the doctors are like, absolutely, bring that on board. We want that in
Mm-hmm.
our
Mm-hmm.
office. You know what I mean? They knew what they needed to
Mhm.
do in order to keep me happy and me satisfied and to elevate the care that
Mm-hmm.
we provide to our patients. So it
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
is the best time to be fearless.
Yeah. And I also, on this point, I mean, our product and our passion is primarily with dental assistants just because how things work and
Mhm.
who's the ordering person at the office who runs inventory. But I always go back and I say, look, if you want to make more money, it's just so easy, right? And I hope it doesn't come off the wrong way. If you're like 18 to 20 bucks an hour, how to get to $24 an hour? Easy. You start going to courses, and most
Mhm.
likely a good office will pay for maybe once a quarter, once every 6 months for you to go to the course. And you come back and you just don't say like, again, back on the morning huddles, right? Oh, we should do morning huddles. Every successful office does morning huddles. You know how many times doctors heard that? Right? Every time. They hear on every single podcast. But if you come back and you're like, hey, doc, I know you've been wanting to do the morning huddles. I think I know how to do it. I've
Mhm.
got
Mhm.
the plan. Let me try it. Let me take the lead tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wouldn't doctor want to pay 24 bucks an hour to that dental assistant?
Yeah.
Especially like
Absolutely.
after 6 months, you run that and apply that to anything, right? There's so much new
Mhm.
technology, right?
Yeah.
So like 3D printing or CEREC or anything like that that comes out. Like I think we're in the greatest time to do that.
Yeah.
Is
I
now.
absolutely. Yeah, the time is now, and you are super valuable if you come back to an office and you want to implement something and you're fully willing and capable to, and you have the knowledge to do that and implement that. You're
Mhm.
taking that off of their plate. They don't have to do that. You're doing all of the work for them, and you're also going to increase the revenue within the office because everybody's on the same page. You're filling all of the gaps and the holes in the schedule, and everybody knows what's going
Mhm.
on throughout the day. So it is really important,
Absolutely. Yeah, you're taking the issue and you're creating a solution for it.
and that's what
Hmm.
doctors want. They want the solution to the issue.
Yeah, they got issues
Yeah.
through the
Who
wazoo,
doesn't?
right? So like
Who
they need
doesn't?
solutions. They need
Absolutely.
solutions. They need people to
Yeah.
come in and solve the problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do
Create a
you
good
how do you guys
strategy. Mhm.
how do you guys coach your clients? And I assume your clients are hygienists, right?
Yes.
Yes.
How do
Mhm.
you coach them to either improve or like when it comes to toxic environment, how do you coach them through that?
Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Laura.
So our foundation is really changing, helping them change their mindset to instead of a fixed mindset to really get into a growth and abundant mindset so that
What would
they
that look
can
like?
so changing the way they talk to themselves, changing the way they think. So instead of saying, I can't do something, I can, just changing the verbiage. And from there, building off of that, creating positive self mantras. So you're repeating to yourself on a daily basis. And then building off of that, creating habits that are going to help you succeed. So creating and implementing habits, daily habits that will whether that be journaling or creating space to work out or meditate, whatever that's going to be. So it's really bringing it back to the basics and then learning to have communication skills and to have those, okay, figure out, well, what is creating that toxic work environment? Is it your own mindset or is it somebody else? And then creating boundaries off of that
Hmm.
and realizing that you can only control what you can control. You can't control other people. So is it something where you have to create boundaries, or is it something where you can just simply have a conversation and create a solution to end that problem? Sometimes it really is just having that conversation with somebody, but you have to be able to recognize that and be mindful. And if you're already in a negative mindset, you're never going to get beyond that.
How many times your client was actually the problem?
That's a really good question.
um,
I don't know if we've ever
that
actually
is
like talked about like them being the problem. It's more about helping them create a solution to that problem. Whether again, maybe it be
mhm,
them or be somebody else that works in the office with them. I feel like a lot of the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, a lot of the time it's the hygienist that's like noticing that, the assistants are coming in and they're being negative to them, or there's a lot of like office drama or gossip, and they don't want to be a part of that anymore. They want to change their mindset around having those toxic conversations. So they're choosing to step away from those things and create that space and the boundaries needed. So I feel like the majority of the time, and it could be them, I'm not sure, but it's the hygienist that's coming to us that wants to get away from that because they're looking to grow in their career, and that's hindering them from growing.
mhm. And I think no matter what avenue you work in, there's always going to be the potential for burnout, right? There's no
Mhm.
matter what line of work you do, there's potential for burnout, but it's about creating the tools to prevent that, and being mindful to know, okay, well, I am feeling this way. I'm overworking myself, or I'm doing X, Y, and Z, which is going to lead to feeling burnout. So how do I prevent myself from doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, again, maybe I'm wrong. I think the burnout can even happen at the perfect workplace,
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
right? So
Because
you've got your
and
dream office
yeah.
and you
yeah,
can still be burned out.
and
Hmm.
I think that's why it's important to do that self work. So maybe, I mean, maybe what you just said is true. It's your own mindset and your own being. So
Yeah.
yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
that. That kind of all comes back around because it truly is you as an individual. Yeah, you're creating
Hmm.
in your mind, and simply by working and not, working with a coach, whether that be a fitness coach, a life coach, a career coach, a mindset coach, really bringing it back down to the basics and who you are and what you truly want for yourself, really does open your
Hmm.
mind at the possibilities. And, I am burnt out now. Okay, I know that I am. What do I need to do for myself personally to fill all my cups so that I'm not burnt out anymore and that I can be successful and grow, and both personally and professionally.
What do you guys recommend, or what do you do if the burnout is because of the home responsibility? Like you have the perfect workplace,
Hmm.
Hmm.
but you got a kid or two,
Hmm.
you have a husband or not, but it's like
Hmm.
that's your source of the burnout and you can't fix it. Meaning you can't just get your kids to your mom and say, I'll pick them up in 2 weeks, right? So like how do you coach people through that burnout?
Yeah, that's a really good.
Absolutely.
We both deal with
It's
that.
it's
That's our lives.
Yeah, it is our lives. Right. It's about balance. It's about being able to admit, like, hey, I only have 10% to give right now. I need more from somebody else. And to being able to ask for help. I think if you can, time is precious, right? And we only have so much time in a day. So if you can create space for yourself, so that way you can do better for everybody else, that's really helpful.
Yeah,
Can you
and I
give
think
an example?
creating more space, so
Yeah.
the habits of, and like we've talked about habits and implementing habits. Before, when I was in that burnout stage, I would wake up 5 minutes before before I needed to be out the door. So I would literally throw everything in a bag, throw my kids in the car, and off we go for the day. So you're
In
having
five
zero,
minutes?
literally five. I mean, I would throw my son in the
I
car. He
could
would,
see the kids just flying in the
yeah,
car seat.
I would be holding my son and we'd be running out the door, and I'd have my lunch bag on my arm, and like off we go for the day. And that right there is burnout city. Like that is going to, that was the, a big source of the burnout because I wasn't creating the space in the morning for myself. So now I
Hmm.
wake up 2 hours before my kids wake up. I'm working out, I'm journaling, I'm doing work before the day gets started so that I don't have to do it when they're awake anymore. So creating those healthy habits have helped a lot with
Hmm.
that work life harmony and work life balance. And like Laura said, the communication is really important. So on a day that I'm back to back to back calls, making sure that I have somebody for my kids and their things are lined up. My husband's not working, his second side job, so making sure that we are all kind of on the same page and we do like, Sunday meetings pretty much. Like, there's one day in the week where we're sitting down, we're mapping out what the week looks like. This is his day to do his side job. This is what I'm doing on my days and my side job. You know what I mean? So we're all working together to make sure that there's a cohesive harmony throughout that week. And when there's not, something's got to give, and we have to either give up something that we're doing on the side to make time for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the social media is not helping with that, because
No,
I feel like,
social media is so hard.
yeah, I think the whole work-life balance is that's another, I feel like, thing, just like leadership, that I'm kind of not on the same sidelines. I mean, not on the same wavelength, because for everybody, work-life balance is very different, right? So you take a mom who is a single mom with a kid, and she's offered to work extra hours. Where's the work-life balance? She needs more money, right? So like, she's going to take on that, figure out how to take care of the kids, but try to make more money. Is it work-life balance in the quote of like society today?
there.
It's not.
I don't
I've been
think
there.
that there's exactly. I don't think there's anything. There's no such thing as true balance, right? It's always going to be ebbs and flows. I mean, that's in life, in relationships, whether that be a personal relationship, a working relationship. There's no such thing as true balance.
And I think, Laura, you said the word harmony. I think that's a much better word.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
agree.
Yeah. And I like that initially when I had just one child at the time, I was a single mom. So when I would get offered that, 6 a.m. morning phone call, like, hey, we need you today. Can you make it in? It's, relying, thankfully I had my parents to rely on, like, hey, I'm going to drop, Daniel off for the day. I got to make that money because I have bills to pay. So some weeks are definitely tougher than others. But I think, based on where you're at in your current situation, making those decisions and doing what's best for your family, ultimately.
And for you, I think one of the things that Danielle and I drive home too, it's to recognize like who you are authentically, because the same thing's not going to work for everybody. Like, just because I personally wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning doesn't mean that everybody is going to do that and that's going to work for them. So I think that's extremely important to recognize what will work best for you. Are you a night person? Are you a morning person? And build off of what you'll be successful with.
Can I slightly disagree with you, Laura?
Of course you can.
I feel like we also need to, when we talk to people and we say, you can choose whatever you want, and if you're a morning person or the evening person. But I do feel we're not, and again, I hope I'm wrong, I don't think we're giving people enough opportunity to see how things are. Like, for example, there's a lot more
I was just going to say, in
statistics.
which regard?
Yeah, there are a lot more statistics that if you wake up early, you're going to be more
More
successful.
successful.
So like,
Absolutely. I mean,
you
there's so
can
many
do
books
whatever
off
you
that.
want. Yeah, you can wake up 5 minutes before you need to fly out, but statistically,
Yes.
you're going to be a lot more successful if you wake up 2 hours before. You have time to work out, you have time to read, and all of a sudden you control the day,
Yes.
right? So that's like, and then you choose. Like, once you know these things, it's up to you. Like, you want to suck for the rest of the life, then do whatever works for you.
I love
But if
that.
you want to be successful, and then these are the statistics. Again, there are outliers too, and that's
Of
totally
course.
fine.
But so when I say that, I mean in the regards of, like, I know some people that they work out better after work. So they'll still wake up and they'll do like their morning routine, but after work they'll go to the gym and get their workout in. For me personally, that is not who I am. If I don't work out in the morning, I'm not working out that day. So in that regards, yes, I totally agree with you statistically. And I mean, there's so many books. I've read so many books on, be the 5 a.m. wake up, like, and that's what I've instilled in my life. And I have seen growth over time. And yes, there are some days that it's more difficult than others, but if you can continually show up for yourself, and I think that's the most important thing, is when you show up for yourself, you build more confidence because you're going to be, you believe who you are and you're choosing who you want to be. And that's the thing, like for everybody, you can wake up today and decide, okay, well, who are you? Who are you going to show up as?
Yeah. Hopefully you're not doing that every morning, like waking up and like
Well, no,
like
not every
yeah,
morning.
hopefully you like figure
I
this
think,
out like at
yes,
least once a year, write it down in a journal and then like stick with it. 'Cause otherwise
exactly.
it's like too exhausting.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you guys, like, I think Danielle mentioned something that you planned the week on the Sunday
Mhm.
with your significant other. I think that's so cool. But I looked at some of the questions I wanted to ask you. So back to that point, how to design your life as a hygienist and where to start. And like, how would you, if you're starting all over again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine I'm bringing you back 15 years ago. You're finishing up the hygiene school, and now you have the hygiene school that you finish. You have your certificate, and now you have all the knowledge that you have now. How
Mhm.
would you design your career, or how would you design your first year, both professional and personally?
That's a really, really tough question. That's a good question. Not so much tough, but hmm. I think that a lot of like obviously what we know now, and if we were able to know what we know now 15 years ago, I wouldn't have woken up 5 minutes before I had to leave for work. I would have, that 2 hours, I would have made sure that I had immediately instilled that from the get go.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what Laura said, like who I want to be, who do I want to be as a hygienist, and allowing myself to have the confidence in who I am and to not let somebody else dictate what that looks like would have been
Mm-hmm.
huge because I unfortunately worked in an office where the doctor was like, "You're the worst hygienist I've ever met." And
Oh
so
wow.
coming
In
out
your
of
face?
school, yeah, yep, coming out of hygiene school, 1 year in, that really crushes your confidence, obviously. And
Absolutely.
when you come out of when 15 years ago, coming out of hygiene school, there was not nearly as much opportunity as there is now. So
Mm-hmm.
if I would know, that there is more opportunity outside of clinical hygiene and would have stayed more connected within the hygiene world with others and networked more, my career would
Mm-hmm.
probably be completely different than it is now. But I wouldn't necessarily say that I would change how things have played out for me. But I definitely think that I would have gone into the workforce with way more confidence and continuing to stay connected and be truly aware of who I am and what I wanted out of my career.
Hmm.
Not
Yeah,
letting
I think,
that.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
especially for you, Danielle, with your experience. I think for me, I would have absolutely, I wouldn't have said, I would not have said no to certain opportunities that presented to themselves to me. I would have made a point to make sure that I stayed more connected with like my local components,
Mm-hmm.
and been involved more in my community that way. And I would have looked for growth in in within the operatory and with outside of the operatory more so than what I did then.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah. So like I was presented an opportunity to teach, and but I was working full time as a hygienist, and I loved the office that I was working at, and I had great benefits. I had 401k, profit sharing, I made a decent salary, all of the things. And I didn't want to lose that because that was, I mean, an amazing benefits to have. I loved everybody that I worked with. But so I said no to the opportunity. But I think that if I had the conversation with the doctor and had been able to work something out instead of just being like automatically, no, I can't do that, I can't ever change that. I think if I had just had the confidence to have that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
to try to work something out where I could have done both, it would have led to more opportunities for me.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for both of you, what I hear is confidence and not being afraid to do what you want to
Yeah.
do.
Like you said
Mm-hmm.
earlier, it's the best time to be
Right,
fearless, right?
right. That's true. I
Mm-hmm.
think it also comes with repetition. That's where like it's so hard to try to give advice, right? Like one of the questions that I used to like a lot, like what would you tell yourself? What would you tell a 20-year self, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, my 20-year self would not even listen.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I also think that it's so important. Like timing's everything.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
things come to you when you're ready for it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
100%.
you
Or they
know,
don't, or
yeah,
you're not ready.
exactly. And I
Yeah,
think I'm a firm believer in timing. And sometimes when you're in that moment, it's really difficult to understand that. And it's really difficult to accept that.
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
interesting. That, yeah,
what are you
that's
thinking? Your brain is going.
no, such a cool subject because there's so much serendipity that happens, right? So I
Yes.
also, when we talked about like when Danielle gave example, when um when a doctor told you that you're the worst
Mm.
hygienist,
I'm so sorry for
my
that, Danielle, too. It stinks.
yeah, it's interesting because my mind went into a different direction. I'm like, I wonder where the doctor's coming from, and
Mm.
I don't know if it's he or she. Like, was the doctor coming from a place of trying to critique your skills, and because your skills equal hygiene, she couldn't figure out any other way to say it? So you know how
Yeah.
I always tell my team, I don't critique you personally. Like if you're part of the team, that's it. You're done. You get automatically trust, and I don't question you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do critique is what you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? That gets criticized left and right by everybody on the team, including
Yeah.
me, right? So like, I don't. If a person
Interesting.
comes up to me and says you're such an asshole, I'm like, okay, is there something that I did
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
led you to think that way, or like you're judging my character? If it's a character, then yeah, we've got a problem, right? Or you
Sure.
got a
Mm-hmm.
problem. But
Yeah.
if that's the way you're trying to come out at my skills, but then let's sit down and talk about what specifically you don't like about my skills. Because I
Yeah.
mean, dentists are the worst communicator,
Oh,
the worst, right?
worst.
So
So
like
true.
they would sit
So
in with
true.
their dental assistants, expect that the dental assistant all of a sudden is going to read their mind and hand them the right instrument. That just doesn't happen. They need to
No.
That's so
talk.
funny.
But that's where like my compassion is for dentists is like when he or she says you're the worst hygienist, it's probably because like I don't know, something missed and a
Yeah.
big pocket
Responsibilities
that should
not
have been
calculated that I missed.
5, yeah, got marked
Yeah.
2. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, like I don't know what happened.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
remember
And
there.
that's true. And I think in all avenues, right? Everybody, there's always room for improvement. So whether that be the doctor could have communicated that better, Danielle was fresh out of school, maybe she was still critiquing and improving on her
Mm-hmm.
clinical skills,
Yeah, for
but
sure. Yeah. Still
I
am.
mean,
I'm,
Yeah,
I mean, who
we're
isn't?
always
Who isn't
growing.
constantly improving? Exactly. But I think that that's the whole point, right? Is that if we don't have these conversations and we don't talk about it, nothing will change,
Yeah.
and people won't grow. So it's like you need to have that conversation of like, hey doc, I thanks for the feedback, but I think you could have communicated that better. I mean, of course Danielle wouldn't have had that conversation then.
yeah,
But
yeah,
now I would, now I would have the confidence.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me, wait a minute. Like, first of all, don't talk to me like that. And B, if you're gonna talk to me like that, come with me with some like hard facts on why you think that, and let's work together on how we can improve that. Having that
Yeah.
conversation instead of just letting him overpower and for me to just take it and live with that for the next few years. Like, yep, I suck as a hygienist. Don't even know why I'm doing this. Like that's awful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And we've heard that from multiple hygienists that have had horrible experiences like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they let those words define them, and they can't.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. Like if we look at terminology, if the doctor comes in and says, "You're the most horrible human being I've ever seen in this office," that's
Mm-hmm.
that that to me is like that again, you're judging the person character. I'll be out the door as soon as he's done saying this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if the person says like, I don't know, you're the worst leader for me, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's talk about it. Like, I'm
Yes.
Yeah.
not gonna come out offensively. because, well, I put on myself the hat of a leader of the company, and then I want to know what happened. Maybe my customer support sucks. Maybe somebody on my team said that they're going to do something, they didn't do something. Maybe our product is horrible, right? So like this
Mm-hmm.
is where again where the growth happens. I think growth rarely happens in a la la land. So
Yeah, no.
it only when something like negative-ish, and
Yeah.
that's when and back to the being the younger 15 years ago, maybe even if you don't have a confidence, but just have enough to say like, can we talk about it?
Hmm.
Can you
Yes.
describe?
Absolutely.
And who said this? Like growth happens from your biggest failures, right? You get the
Oh,
most
I don't
growth
know.
from failing.
He
I'm
doesn't
sure a
agree
lot
with
of people said that. No, no, I do. I'm
that.
sure that a lot of people said that. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
for Tony Robbins to like, I mean, you can name anybody that will say that, right? So,
Exactly. And I mean it is true. And if you don't learn from when you fail or from your mistakes, like that's you have to do that.
But
And
it's
we're all
important to also
human.
have a mindset too. Like if you're not in the proper mindset, that because I wasn't,
Yes.
you know what I mean? I was,
Mm-hmm.
failing in my hygiene skills clearly, but I wasn't in the right mindset to like let that drive me forward and push and propel me forward.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I suck,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just gonna like, run away kind of thing. Like, and
And
I'm,
hide in your
hmm
little
yeah,
bubble.
hmm yeah,
exactly.
in
Mm-hmm.
the
So,
defense mode.
yes, exactly.
What if you guys could describe a great hygienist? What would she look like, or
Oh,
he?
Laura, you're in this one.
I said us, but I was just kidding.
Well, then describe what I see the
Oh my
pictures.
God. No, I think that there's so many different versions of a great hygienist, right? I don't think you can like put them in a box, right? Because
Okay.
everybody brings their own unique ability,
Hmm.
like to who they are. But I think important qualities of a great hygienist is someone that has that abundant mindset, someone who's a team player, someone who's willing to grow, someone who's empathetic, and someone who's not going to half-ass it.
Yeah, 100% that. Could not agree more
You
with
know,
the half
when
part.
yeah,
Can you
someone that's
describe the?
really going to put like a patient-centered care, you know?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Can you describe abundant mindset? What does it mean to you?
Abundant mindset means that you are willing to
Take constructive criticism.
yes, yeah, exactly. You're willing to um I
Have
don't
an
know, willing to, open mind. Yeah, you're open to different opportunities, different um opinions. You're not just going to be closed off.
Like doctors.
Your words, not mine.
yeah.
I'm just, uh,
Uh,
that's awesome. And
yeah.
what do you think is the most, um, maybe a skill or character trait that hygienists are missing today?
Mm.
Oh, that's a really good question. I think that a lot of the time they're missing the confidence in who they are as a clinician because they're not getting, that feedback from the doctor or the appropriate feedback from the doctor and the team. So they're fearful. They're fearful of changing their skills. They're fearful of learning new innovations and technologies. They don't know where to turn to or who to look for to make those changes. Um, So if they would just believe in themselves and their abilities that they were taught and the skills and all of the things that they do on a day-to-day basis, um, they go ahead, Laura.
Laura
No,
could barely sit.
I'm,
She's jumping
oh,
off the
I'm
chair.
itching because
Yeah.
it's going to be a little, taboo. I think that hygienists, especially right now, are making it all about them. They want,
Yeah.
but what are they giving in return? And I think that's what's missing right now is hygienists are demanding certain things.
True.
And it's so important to, yes, of course, like I love our profession. I mean, we're oral wellness providers. We have so much to give, but it's also like what we can do for our patients and what we can do for the company or doctor, whomever you're working for, how you can work together, and you need to be able to give as well as to receive.
It's
That's
the
just
we.
such a great point.
Yes.
It's such a great point, especially we've seen that happen during the COVID, like how many
Mhm.
hygienists just got up and left.
Left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
there's some portion that did it for the right reasons. I don't judge people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
However, there were moments when they literally left an office up and
Yeah.
running with no
Mhm.
hygienist.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think that's the right way to do it. Um, where can you tell just maybe briefly what the gist of the coaching that you provide? Maybe like a little bit of details, who the ideal customers are for your
Mhm.
business, um, and what they should expect if they join your coaching group.
Yeah, I love that. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have a couple different packages. So you could work with us for a month. It's just a condensed growth package. So if you really know what you want and you just need some accountability to
What
help
if you
achieve
don't?
it. Yes.
I'm a hygienist
So then you'd
at a
want to
dental
work with
office.
us.
I'm clueless. I have no confidence. I work in a
Yeah.
toxic environment. Like, what
So
else?
you could work with us one-on-one. We have a Thrive package, which is a one-on-one 3-month program, or we also have our Flex and Freedom group coaching program, which is also 12 weeks, but it's meeting weekly instead of bi-weekly, and you get that group coaching, which we have a wait list for that right now. That will be launching September 8th.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what should people expect? Because I also go back to what Danielle said. You hired your personal coach,
mhm.
and I assume that wasn't your aunt or your grandma.
No.
So you hired an actual coach.
Yeah.
And so, what would people expect from you? What the results they should be looking for?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of our clients are coming out, and this is what we want for them. We want them to have that confidence. We want them to know their why. What are they truly passionate about? We want to make sure that they're filling their cups in all avenues so that they can find that work-life harmony that they're desiring. The flex and
Mm-hmm.
freedom is really, again, based around that flexibility and the freedom that hygienists are looking for. So we help them, create the space to find out what that truly looks like for each individual. Changing their mindset, growing their confidence, helping them set goals, keeping them accountable. They should be leading us knowing full well what they're looking to do, whether that be in clinical, non-clinical, a combination of the both. We help them, work through
Mm-hmm.
that. What does that look like for them? What do they truly
Mm-hmm.
want? And I can proudly say that every hygienist that we have worked with has come out on the other side with tremendous growth, tremendous confidence, and have excelled and exceeded our expectations of what's possible. So
Yeah, it's been incredible to watch. So whether that be them being published, leaving clinical altogether, doing a different career, um, you know, or
and
just transferring from a toxic work environment to a new clinical position and realizing that they're valued and appreciated. I mean, so it's a array of different results. But yeah, so we really want to empower the hygienist to figure out, like Danielle said, what their why is, reignite their passion again. And it could be learning a new innovation, or it could be leaving the four walls of your op altogether. But
Interesting.
that's, yeah,
Yeah.
it's their results are what they're looking for.
mhm.
I think it's very needed, at least to help people guide them in the direction of figuring out what they want in life. Because I think most of us are just lost in life because we don't know what we want, not because we're not capable.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
once we know what we want, it becomes fairly easy
Yes.
Yeah.
to live the life we want to live. And then from small steps, the confidence comes in, right? So you do 5
Yes.
push-ups a day, and all of a sudden your confidence
Yes.
is the next level. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that happens, but not that many people talk about it. It's all some high stuff that will not even get to the radar of a dental assistant or a hygienist. So the more simpler we make it, the more people like you exist to break it all down into like actionable steps, I think the better.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
absolutely. And it's
That's our goal.
it's really
That's
rewarding.
awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you guys wanted me to ask and I didn't?
I don't believe so.
No, yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to ask
I
that you
love
didn't?
all these questions, though. They're so good.
I have two more, but I think I'll do it take two. We'll do it in the
Okay.
future. We're up for about an hour now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I share your website with people? Like if we do the notes, can I include that in the notes?
I would
Please.
love that.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Fantastic.
Be great.
Well, Laura and Danielle, thank you so much. That
Yeah,
was
thank you.
fast 55 minutes. We
I
just went
know.
through very quickly, but I hope it's impactful. I hope it gives people perspective what you do and how you help. And just looking at you two, you're smiling, you're happy genuinely. So I think people should expect good results from working with you.
Thank
Well,
you. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. Nice
Yeah.
chatting the last hour.
Same here. Same here. Cool. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to chatting again in the future.
Take
Yeah.
two. It's coming.
Yeah,
Take
take
two.
two.
Okay.
Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you.